Can I talk to you for a second about something that comes up in my practice all the time? And it comes up in my life all the time? And it comes up in your life all the time? It's the topic of avoidance. Avoidance behavior. Avoiding doing things that are important. Otherwise known as procrastination. Okay, so let's get right into it. And I want to start out with a quote by Jordan Peterson, who's an author that I really respect. And here's his quote. I'm going to read it verbatim. This way I don't screw it up. "The secret to your existence is right in front of you, and it manifests itself as all those things you know you should do, but you're avoiding." I love that quote because it captures perfectly what I'm talking about here. We get avoidant about things that are very important. We're not avoiding the silly little things that don't make a difference in our lives. We're avoiding doing the big things. They're scary. And so let's talk about the mechanism behind this. Now, first of all, it starts with fear. And human beings, and I've said this in multiple videos over the years, human beings are wired to be scared of things. That's the default program in our brain. This is evolutionary stuff at work here. So it's adaptive to be scared of things that could hurt us, right? It's adaptive to be scared of heights. It's adaptive to be scared of sharp objects. It's adaptive to be scared of strangers that we don't know. That keeps us alive. That kept our ancestors alive for many years. Once we set a goal for ourselves, usually about priorities and things that are important, immediately what sets in is fear. What if we get those goals? What if we achieve them? What if it's going to be hard? What if that conversation that I need to have or that relationship I want to have, what if it fails over time? And so what happens is we work ourselves into a tizzy, and we get scared. And here comes avoidance. We get scared and then we avoid the thing of which we are scared. We avoid the conversation. We avoid paying all those taxes that we want to pay, that we don't want to pay. We avoid pursuing the goals that we know could make us happy. We avoid going to the gym because it's going to take work. And what if it fails because we're not eating well? And what happens is we get a temporary spike in our dopamine, in our brain. In other words, we get reinforced for avoiding doing things. We get reinforced for procrastinating. Our brain says, oh, this feels so good short term. I'm avoiding it. I don't have to deal with this thing that's stressing me out. And so our brain actually gets rewarded for it. We call this a positive feedback loop. So what happens the next time we're confronted by something that we need to do but don't want to do? Avoidance comes back and is chirping in our ear and says, hey, we did this last time and we felt good for a little short period of time there. Let's do it again. And so we do it again. We need to understand that it's a loop. It feeds upon itself. We get scared of something. We build it up and get scared of it. We avoid it. We get rewarded for avoiding it. So next time when something is scary, we build it up and it gets even scarier. And then we want to avoid it again because it seemed to work. It gave us a little bit of a spike of dopamine. That's the mechanism behind it. Next thing I want to talk about is why this doesn't work. Here's why it doesn't work. What happens is the stressor, the thing, the big dragon in front of us that we're avoiding, it doesn't go away. When we avoid a conversation, that conversation still needs to be had. When we avoid paying our taxes, those taxes are still needing to be collected by the IRS. When you avoid paying a bill, the bill collector is still going to want that money down the road. When you avoid working out, your body is still going to go about its daily business and it's going to gain weight and it's going to be unhealthy. So avoidance doesn't solve anything. It's not the same thing as coping. Coping is an active thing. Coping is working through something. Coping is dealing with the dragon, dealing with the taxes, dealing with the bill that we might not have the money for, having the conversation that scares us, that we don't want to have because it might result in the end of our relationship. So coping is active, and coping is actually eliminating the issue. When you have the conversation, it's done. When you contact the IRS and pay your taxes or set up a payment plan, your anxiety goes down because you actually dealt with the issue. So one idea I have, in closing, to change this pattern of avoidance is I want you to teach yourself to change that feedback loop. If something is scary and if you find yourself wanting to avoid it, that's exactly the reason why you shouldn't. I call this running towards fear. And I think I've done another video in the past on it. If I haven't, then I will. But when something is scary, it means it's important to you. When something makes you want to put it off, it means there's probably a reason behind it. There's something that really needs to get done here. I want you to change that mechanism. Instead of building up the avoidance mechanism, what I want you to do is say, this is scary, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it first thing in the morning, even though it's going to suck. Whether it's working out, whether it's taking a cold shower like I do every morning. I hate it, but I still do it because it's important. It's important for my mental discipline, for my health, for inflammation, all those things. So I want you to change the mechanism. At that moment, go towards what you're scared of, and you'll find it's not as scary. That's the first step. The second step is an easier step. Reward yourself every time you fight off procrastination. Every time you go towards something you're scared of, reward yourself. Make sure you're noticing the wins. Write them down. Keep a journal of your wins. Every time you fight off fear, every time you go towards something that you don't want to go towards, reward yourself. Take notice of it. Once you do that, you're changing the mechanism, you're changing the loop in your brain, and you're starting to feel better about doing things that are scary. I'm Dr. Leif Smith. I hope this helps you break that pattern of avoidance in your life. If it does, which I think it will, please leave some comments below. Make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe if you're not a part of my community. I want you as a part of this community. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.